If the Tennessee Titans want to upset the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday, Derrick Henry must get revenge. I'll explain how he can do it on today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. We got a lot to talk about on today's game plan preview edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Derrick Henry must get his revenge. Also, the Titans have to stop the run, which they got bullied by last time they played the Colts. And the interior of the Titans defense is how that is going to happen. Before we get into today's game plan, do want to thank you guys for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. I'm going to be going live on Sunday immediately after the game's over to break down all the action. And then, of course, we're going to be diving into all the storylines, all the film, all the data next week after the game as well. But with that being said, again, I teased it at the beginning of the show. I put it in the thumbnail. Sure, some of you saw it, clicked on it. Derrick Henry must get his revenge in this game. The Colts completely bottled Derrick Henry up in the last game that they played in Week 5. I think Derrick Henry went for 43 yards in that game. Got to do better than that. And last week, the Titans won. Derrick Henry didn't have a great statistical game. But the Colts are not the Panthers. And look, the Colts pass rush is hot and cold. All right, no doubt about it. But the Titans are not going to be able to pass the ball on this team all day long. They simply can't. And the Colts look like a good matchup in the pass game. The Colts play like 90% zone coverage. The Titans are much better against zone coverage than they are man coverage. But the Colts in the last game played man coverage because everyone plays man coverage against the Titans. You could be a zone-only team and you would play man coverage against the Titans because the Titans struggle so much with it. So the Titans simply aren't going to be able to just pass the ball all over them and have efficiency in the passing game without the play action threat. All right, they're not going to be able to do that. So the only, and I've said this throughout the week. I've said it in my little, keys to victory short video that some of you guys probably saw on Friday morning or Thursday. The Colts are a better football team than the Titans. They're a better team. They have better players. Honestly, the coaching, whatever. So the Titans aren't going to win this game by things that they don't do well. The Titans are going to have to do what they do well and do it well against the Colts, and that is running the football. The Titans must be efficient running the football early on. Now, how can they do that? In my opinion, this is a big week for outside zone. You want to attack the edges of the Colts. All right, the Colts are a 4-3 team. They're not a 3-4 team. So often the Colts will have 4 guys on the line of scrimmage. And they're going to have guys who want to kind of blitz up the A-gap. They're going to get downhill. Teams totally throw out what they like to do when they play the Titans because it's so obvious what kills the Titans. So if people are going to be blitzing up the interior gaps and they're going to be penetrating hard, get to the edge. All right, get to the edge. Outside zone. And I liked what the Titans did last time they played, where they had the 2 tight ends in the backfield instead of on the line of scrimmage. That way they could kind of help with people pressure in the interior. The Titans have to do a lot of that. All right, there's no way around it. They're going to need to attack the perimeter. They're going to need to get to the edge. You don't want to run up the gut at Zaire Franklin. That's not what I want to see the Titans do in this game. So they have to get going, or they're not going to be able to get to their play action pass game. And the Titans had so much success in the play action pass game against the Colts last time. That is where the majority of the offense came from for the Titans is in that play action pass game, letting DeAndre Hopkins win against a secondary that's not very good. Now Treylon Burks could be back. You add Burks back into the fold and add another weapon in there. The Titans have to get to the play action pass game. That is where they had that success, and they're only going to be able to do that as often as we need them to if they run the ball consistently. Period. It's a tough task. The Titans haven't done it very well all year, probably because the Titans aren't a very good team. But at the end of the day, if they want to win, they want to pull an upset, they're going to have to find a way to get Derrick Henry going. And it's funny, they asked Derrick Henry about his lackluster performance in the box score against the Colts last time. And he said he looked at, 43 yards, I think that he had. Looked at 43 yards, and it makes him cringe. It makes me cringe too. All right, the Titans got 3 field goals last time and 1 touchdown where they got it on a reverse to Tajay Spears. They got to the perimeter. All right, if the Titans want to score more and want to have more opportunities, they're going to have to run the football. And I think the best way to do it is to get to the perimeter, outside zone, toss sweep, hem guys in if they want to be aggressive, coming downhill through the interior gaps, hem them inside, get to the outside. And once you do that, then OZ, you can play action off that. I want to see more bootleg. Get Will Levis out on the perimeter, outside of the pocket, away from the rush, away from the interior pressure. So combine what the game plan should be with the run game and outside zone, and combine that with the classic play action bootleg off of it. It serves multiple purposes here. So Henry has to get going, no doubt about it. I'd like to see him do it in outside zone, some of those toss sweeps that the Titans had early in the year. Play action off of that with some OZ bootleg. And then at the end of the day, again, I know some of you guys hate hearing this, but the Colts are a better football team than the Titans. They have more talent across the roster. So if you're going to beat a team that's better than you, you have to play clean. Now, the Titans can get Derrick Henry going in OZ. The Titans can get play action opportunities with Will Levis and DeAndre Hopkins. But if they keep having false start penalties at home, if they keep having operational issues, if they make mistakes like they turn over the ball to the Colts, they're not going to win. The Titans have to play excellent football to beat the Colts. The Titans' A game has to be there to beat the Colts' C+ game. The Colts can play a C+ game, a B- game, and still beat the Titans, while the Titans have to play an A game to win. And an A game includes limited penalties, especially operational penalties, pre-snap penalties on offense, and turnovers. It's that simple. They have to win the turnover battle, and they have to be the cleaner football team. So that's the gambit. That's what they have to do, and that's probably going to be what they have to do going forward to win against teams that are just simply better than them and have more talent. But with that being said, we do need to talk about what the Titans need to do on defense in the entire game plan. Now that we know it's Gardner Minshew, where last time it was Anthony Richardson, the entire game plan is about making Gardner Minshew mess up. That's what they have to do, and it's tough because they got to devote resources all over the field to do it. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Before we get into it, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. I love FanDuel. So fun to get on the action on FanDuel. I love single game parlays where you put a couple of things together. Like me, I'm thinking Derrick Henry over 40 rushing yards, DeAndre Hopkins 3 catches, Gardner Minshew 200 passing yards, Josh Downs 4 catches. Going to combine all those together. A couple of little bets, put them together, you get a bigger payout. Absolutely a great time. Plus, right now, if you're a new customer, you can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn and get in on the action this NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Titans fans, let's continue today's game plan preview edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about what the Titans need to do on offense by getting Derrick Henry going with the outside zone, play action bootleg, all for that, playing a clean game, all that stuff. Now I want to get into the defensive side of the ball where, quite honestly, it's a lot more complicated. Before we get into that, thank you guys for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Also want to let you guys know that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts like me from the Locked On podcast, plus coverage from our national shows, like how I do the Locked On NFL show on Thursdays. It's going to be on there as well. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. Subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Be a part of history. All right, guys. We talked about Derrick Henry getting revenge, how the Titans have to find a way to run the football better. Well, they have to stop the run on defense. I know it's boring. Run the ball. Stop the run. But look at the game. Look at the game that the Titans played against the Colts. I mean, they couldn't run the football with efficiency. It creates too many third and long chances where the Titans can't go to play action. They can't use the backfield deception that makes them what they are. And then on the flip side, the Colts ran for 193 yards. Zach Moss was incredible. All right, that can't happen again because the real weakness on this Colts offense, the real weakness, if we get down to it, the real weakness is Gardner Minshew. He's a low-level starting quarterback. He's a high-level backup quarterback. However you want to look at him, that's what he is. All right? And he is the weakness that must be exploited. All right? Period. The only way that you can do that is to get him in third and long. All right? Where he can't scramble for a quick third and short. All right, that is what the Titans have to do here. They have to stop the run. 193 rushing yards for the Colts last time. And most of it came right up the middle. Now, why is that happening? We talked about it yesterday with Zach Hicks from Locked On Colts. Basically, every single run play that the Colts have, they tag with a pass option. Almost every play the Colts run is an RPO. So that means that you have to man on a man outside, which is how the Colts, and I think back to the Steelers game. The Steelers had a ton of success with this against the Titans. They put 3 wide receivers out, 1 on the left side, 2 on the right side, right next to each other, just for example. Could be left, right. You could switch. It doesn't matter. 2 wide receivers on one side, 1 on the other. And they're going to give the ball to the running back or throw a quick pass out to the 2 wide receiver side. And that makes it tough because the Titans will put 2 cornerbacks out there. And if they do that, that means all 3 of your cornerbacks are spread out. And then your safeties have to be back deep to guard deep. There's only 6 people in the box. And last time these teams played, the linebackers got smoked. Jack Gibbons, Azeez Al-Shire got dominated. T.R. Tart wasn't in this game. The guys up front, Jeffrey Simmons included, got dominated in the run game in the A-gaps. So for me, this game plan, the Titans are going to have to cover that RPO stuff outside. They're going to have a hat on a hat, man on a man on the outside. So they have a couple of options. Either A, and this is what I think the Titans are going to do, they need to just play better. They need to stay in their gaps. They need to make tackles. Talking to you, Azeez, make a freaking tackle. Everyone's like, oh, his tackle numbers are so high. So on his missed tackle numbers, too. Have you seen that? The void between Azeez Al-Shire and his value as a player and then what the fan base thinks of him is probably the biggest gap of any player on the team right now. Your casual fan thinks Azeez Al-Shire has been awesome this year. People who actually know football and understand value in the NFL know that Azeez has been a backup level linebacker this year. And that's why they're starting to play Monty Rice over him and spats. Whatever. That's a conversation for a different day. But if Azeez Al-Shire, Jack Gibbons, Monty Rice, that rotation of linebackers, and then T.R. Tart back in the mix now with Jeffrey Simmons, Jaleel Johnson, Blacklock was in there. They've been mixing in a bunch of people. Kyle Pecco, of course, on the interior. If the front 4 defensive linemen and then whoever the 2 linebackers are don't win this game and don't play better in this game, the Titans are cooked. because you are going to have to devote your secondary resources outside to take care of the RPO. Because if you don't, and you keep your slot cornerback in the box, and they got 2 wide receivers out there with 1 cornerback, Michael Pittman is going to block Christian Fulton onto the bench, and Josh Downs is going to run for 80 yards down the sideline uncontested. You can't do that. You can't do that. So they're going to have to bring a safety down in the box, which is going to create opportunities down the sideline and one-on-one. I don't think the Titans are going to do that. They're going to leave their 2 high safeties. They're going to have their cornerbacks out man-on-a-man outside, and they're going to expect their middle 6, their interior 6 players to just play better. And they're going to have to. Because you've heard the Titans talk about this. Whether it be after that game or whether it be this week leading up to it, they all talk about how, hey, they got a couple of big runs, but a lot of the runs were for nothing. And you ask Jeffrey Simmons, we got out of our gaps. We just didn't play our assignment. So the Titans are thinking in their head right now, hey, our plan last time was good. Our plan was good, and it was just a few execution issues, which means they're going to go back to that plan. And if they could stop the run with that plan and get into 3rd and long, they can play press zone coverage, cover 2, everybody on the line of scrimmage press into show man, but dropping back into zone and cover 2, and then you take away the initial read of Gardner Minshew, you disrupt the timing of that first read that he wants to go to, and after that, Minshew plays Dollar General Johnny football. All right? He's going to run around. He's going to try to buy time. Gardner's a guy who will not give up on the play. So you take away his first read, you make him start to scramble, you make him start to play make, and he's going to either give you opportunities to get interceptions by throwing the ball inaccurately, or you're going to be able to get some bodies on him in the pocket and maybe create some fumbles. Stop the run. Play tight zone coverage on 3rd downs to disrupt timing. And make Gardner Minshew mess up. It's that simple. And we go back to what we talked about in the first segment. The Titans will have to play a clean game. If Christian Fulton is committing penalties every 3rd down again, if the Titans are missing sacks, if the Titans don't force turnovers, they're not going to win because they're not the better team. So they have to play much better than the Colts have to play to be able to get the win. Clean football, and they're at home. They should be able to do that. If the Colts are the cleaner football team at home, how are you supposed to win with the lesser team on paper? How? You're not. So stop the run with your 6 guys. Be more disciplined. Stay in your gap. Also, the Titans do squeeze and scrape sometimes where the defensive line will squeeze down into the gaps and then the linebackers have kind of scrape over for the outside gaps. I don't want to see that this week. That's how they got out of position last time they played. Just straight up gap discipline. No movement. Just stay in your gap. All right? And the discipline is going to be key against those traps and wham blocks of the Colts. That, man, Shane Steichen did some incredible stuff. I remember in that last game, the Titans ran a freaking wham block with a trap block going the opposite direction where the guard is kicking out and the tight end is coming in for the trap. I mean, it was sweet. It was sweet. So you got to play with discipline, not get too far upfield, hold your gap. The Titans just have to play smart, sound, clean football to win. Because if they make too many mistakes, they're going to get beat by a better team. But with that being said, I'm going to get into some of the individual matchups that I'm watching for in this game, reaffirm my prediction for you guys, talk about the line as well, because if you're a betting person, you go on FanDuel, I think you got some good value here if you believe the Titans are going to win. So we're going to get into that in just a moment. Before we do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is a great place, the best place to go get tickets, especially if you're looking for last-minute tickets, because they have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices. You get an accurate view from your seat. They have a best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. And look, guys, I'm not just reading the advertisement to you. I've used Gametime quite a bit. I've gone to multiple baseball games, bought some tickets for a basketball game in the spring. I mean, I use Gametime, and all the stuff I just told you, it's real. Great view from your seat that's accurate, all-in prices, so you're not slapped with a bunch of fees and stuff that take your price way up after you get into the cart. None of that stuff. And Gametime has zone deals where you can pick the section and Gametime picks the seats, and you're going to get an average of 18% savings. The Gametime guarantee always means that you're going to get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. I mean, you're not going to beat that anywhere else. So make sure that you download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. It is a game plan preview. We've talked about the offense. We talked about the defense. Now I kind of want to zoom in, talk about some of the individual matchups that I'm watching for in this game before I get into it. Thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. As a reminder, I am going to be going live immediately after the game finishes on Sunday to break down all the action. I did want to take a moment and let you guys know, not looking for a pity party, but I do want to apologize. I haven't put out as much content, written content, film stuff this week. I'm on the injured list, man. I like classic Tennessee Titans stuff. I have a deep contusion in my foot. I have a strained groin. I'm still fighting off the bronchitis, still coming back from an ear infection. I mean, I am absolutely cooked out here. Most certainly questionable, doubtful on a day-to-day basis. Starting to feel better. Hopefully I feel a lot better after the weekend and all that time to relax and kind of put the work aside for a little bit. But I just wanted to give a shout out to you guys for, stay true throughout the process. Well, it's not one of my best weeks this week. So thank you guys all so much for hanging with me here. But with that being said, I talked about it earlier. The biggest matchup of this game is the Titans front six on defense against the Colts offensive line. Tier Tart, Jeffrey Simmons, of course, Arden Key, Harold Landry, Danico Autry, Rashad Weaver should get to play. They need some strength and some power on the edge this week. And then, of course, Azeez, Rice, Gibbons, whether it be Kyle Pecco, the reintroduced Jaleel Johnson, whoever it is, they have to win the matchup against the Colts offensive line or this game is over. All right, that's all it comes down to, because if they don't, the Colts are going to be able to run the ball. And if the Colts run the ball on the Titans, they're going to be able to have enough opportunities to score that they're just simply going to get more points. Me and Zach talked about it yesterday, host from Locked On Colts. There could be a lot of field goals in this game. Doesn't even necessarily have to be a lot of touchdowns, but the more scoring opportunities you get, the better. And I just think the Colts will have more if they're able to run the ball. It's going to be too easy for them. So that is the biggest matchup. And I talked about it before. I spent like the whole section on it in defense because it's just so important. But outside of that, on offense, DeAndre Hopkins, Chigakonkwo. This is going to be a big game over the middle of the field against the Colts zone coverages. If the Colts run man, then Chigakonkwo has the chance to beat a linebacker with speed. DeAndre Hopkins can still win against a cornerback group that's not that great. So DeAndre Hopkins and Chigakonkwo are the guys I'm looking for in this game that need to step up and need to break out here. And we saw Hopkins have 8 catches for 140 yards last time these teams played, so there's no reason he shouldn't do it. Chigakonkwo starting to come around, 4 catches for 45 yards last week. Got to continue to build on that. Chick needs to be a big part of this offense. He hasn't been all year. I don't think it's all his fault, but at the same time, it has to change going into this game or the Titans aren't going to win because they need a secondary option outside of just DeAndre Hopkins. And Chigakonkwo is going to be able to have matchups against slower linebackers and work the middle of the field. So that's what I'm looking for. And then finally, Peter Skoronski. I talked about Peter Skoronski earlier this week. My everydayers remember the first segment. Peter Skoronski's been balling lately, but this is a tough matchup. Dio Dangbo rushes from the inside. Of course, DeForest Buckner. This is going to be a tough one. So if the Titans can count on Peter Skoronski with all the craziness on the offensive line around him, if they can count on Peter Skoronski to handle his matchup, that would be huge for the Titans, and they can devote resources elsewhere. So that's what I'll be looking for matchup-wise. In this game, the Titans are 1.5-point underdogs at home. if you're a betting man, I would go on FanDuel and I'd take that. The Titans at home getting points. It could be a really close game, and 1.5 points may be enough. It could be 17-16, 14-13, something like that. And you'd be in good shape. It's not a lot of points. I would prefer to get the Titans up to like 3.5. If I can do an alternate spread there and go with the under is what I would be looking at. But if you think the Titans are going to win, you got to go on and take the points, right? I don't think the Titans are going to win, though. So it's not a bet that I'm in. I love the under in this game. I believe the under is 42.5. Love the under in this game. I would be shocked to see more than 42.5 points out of these two teams. But I think the Titans lose 17-13. I just don't think the Titans offense has the ability to run the ball. The offensive line isn't good enough to run the ball. And this Colts defense, run defense, isn't that great. But against the Titans, they just know what to do. Gus Bradley was a holdover as a defensive coordinator. And the book is out on this Titans team. You bring pressure, even on early downs. You stop the run on the way to the quarterback if it's play action. And then you play tight man on third down and bring pressure. And there's just nothing the Titans can do about it. Every team does it. So I don't think the Titans win this one. And let's be honest, it's probably better for the Titans if they lose. The more games that they win, the further they get away from drafting Joe or Olaf Fashanu. And you're seeing, go look at my Twitter account, at Tic Tac Titans. If you look at the offensive tackles or the offensive linemen in the NFL who have the largest responsibility of their team's pressures, Mike McGlinchey, Orlando Brown, Donovan Smith. It's like all the top tackles that were just signed in free agency, this past free agency class. You don't find great offensive linemen in free agency because teams do not let great offensive linemen leave. It's that simple. Titans will have to address left tackle in the draft. Period. So you can scream losers mentality. You can say, oh, the team should always win. I always want them to win. Great. Well, if you don't understand the concept of taking one step back so you can take 3 steps forward, then I don't know what to tell you. And once again, I went over it with Peter Skoronski. If the Titans didn't draft Peter Skoronski and they would have ended up closer to 20, they would have been screwed. And even if you like Broderick Jones, Titans wouldn't have been able to get him either if they had won another game. So think about that. Think pride. To me, losers mentality, you should always want them to win. That's pride. I'm more focused on strategy than pride. Pride will get you killed. I am not a prideful guy who cares about that. I don't care what you have to say about me. I don't care if Colts fans dog the Titans on Twitter. A lot of you guys just want to have bragging rights on social media, and that's how you think about the games. I want the Titans to win so that I can talk crap online. I don't care about that. I don't care about talking crap to other fan bases. I care about taking care of my own house. And the Titans need a left tackle, dang it. And I want one of the best ones out of this draft. So I don't care what you have to say about me. I don't care about your pride. What's best for the Titans long term is if they don't win another game the rest of the year. So will the Titans win? I don't think so. I think it'll be a close game no matter what, though, that they can win. But at the end of the day, whether they win, whether they lose, it's not a bad day for Titans fans. That's all I have to say about that. But with that being said, that is going to do it for me today, folks. Again, I'll be back with you guys on Sunday, immediately after the game, to break down all the action. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.